I believe for the longest time this could never happen to me. People are always going to hate on you, but you have to remember why you're here. Once you have that, honey, everything else will fall in place. So I'd say for the first 10 years of being diagnosed, knowing that somebody has told me I had HIV, I went through a denial stage that was huge. And then after that, the anger and the depression and all the other stages that came finally to acceptance.
I received my diagnosis from the ear, nose, and throat doctor. I was going deaf. And so all that he could tell me was that the test came back positive. And it was basically, I wish you well. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not an HIV specialist. This is not my field, right? So for the next 3 months, all I could do was just cry because I didn't know where to go. I researched HIV, Arkansas, AIDS, Arkansas, HIV, Little Rock, as much as I could, and I came up clueless.
I had no support. They told me they had a support group. And when I went there, they were all older white gay men. And I was a 20-year-old Latina boy. I felt more like prey. It wasn't a conversation of lifting up. It was a conversation of trying to sleep with you. That wasn't support. Now, where support came from was my friends. I remember telling my first friend, his name was Sam, and he was the first person I told I had HIV, aside from the people who found out. And we were in college at Loyola together, and I couldn't even wait. We got into the elevator to go up, and it was just me and him, and I just broke down crying and told him. He didn't know what to say, but what he did do was hold me and told me it's okay, I'll be here. That's the support I got.
I believe that the rate of transmission continues to happen at disproportionate rates in transgender women, particularly transgender women of color, because of the lack of access. Even if you have health care, it's that stigma that we receive when we walk into doctor's offices and people are uneducated about transgender issues. We are misgendered, we're dead named. That prevents us, from even getting into care, right? Even if we do learn our diagnosis.
Well, I actually think the people who are saying that all HIV caught by trans women of color is caught by sex work, I have to say that they're uneducated, obviously don't know the facts, and are spreading lies.
The rate of transmission happens because the modes of transmission affect transgender people across the board, whether it is through sex, whether it is through needles. We are sharing needles, getting, for hormone replacement therapy, right? One of us may have access, but the other one doesn't. Everything that we face prevents us from actually doing what is necessary to take care of ourselves properly.
I didn't catch it doing any sex work. I caught HIV being in love with someone and trusting them to not use a condom at 17, 18 years old. Very vulnerable. It wasn't sex work at all. It was me falling in love. I have found that my journey as a trans woman of color has led me to several closed doors, but has made me open doors to creative money management. To have to find some things that maybe the world may think that's uncomfortable, but to me it's survival. And if I can get through this and have my little money, then I'll be fine. So I've been taught to allow myself to go through trauma to come out with something good, which would be the money. And so that I can live and pay my rent, feed myself, and help others. There's so many girls down south that cannot get access to hormones, basic hormones, unless they become HIV positive. It's such a sad case when people can get housing for being HIV positive, but they have to be HIV positive. A girlfriend of mine has HIV, and another girlfriend of mine does not have HIV. Both are young black trans women of color who live in New Orleans. The one who is diagnosed with HIV is beginning her transitioning. She's starting to take her hormones. She's actually starting to be more stable because they have a housing program for her, which has helped her become more stable and, be at a place where she can actually deal with things. Whereas my other girlfriend, who doesn't have HIV, is still homeless and still seeking everything, her hormones and everything. She's getting it illegally. She's doing what she has to do to survive as a transgender person.
Not many trans women living with HIV engaging in sex work are going to trust their narrative with anyone because of the stigma that's attached to being positive and being a sex worker and being trans, because they do run the risk of being incarcerated. And even in states that don't have an HIV criminalization statute, there are still sentence enhancements, right? Especially as far as sex workers involved.
In Louisiana, for the years of 2014 and 2015, 100% of all the transgender people who were diagnosed with HIV, newly diagnosed with HIV, 100% of them were trans women of color. It really hits my head to recognize and realize that there is a big racial divide and a very big disparity in those two categories. And the way that we attack those statistics is leveling the playing field. HIV has brought out the problems of our society. It has brought us to have to address the problems of our society, recognizing the disparity that goes on in our country. We know that the rights that we have are very limited. We are not protected in the workplace. And to me, that's one of the biggest things. There was a point in my life where when I started to transition, that I couldn't even help people like take out their garbage or wash their dishes, clean the garbage out of their yards, wash a car, because I was almost untouchable. People didn't understand that I was just a human being trying to survive. What they saw was the monster that they created, because he was half woman, she was half a man. And I didn't understand it at the time. All I understood was everybody's looking at me. I've got to be ugly, or internal struggles that human beings have when people look at them. That's the thing. They focus on the minuscule issues instead of giving folks a chance at an equal playing field. Because if I had a chance to transition when I was 17 in 1980 something, it would have been easier for me. No, it wasn't. I had to wait till I was 35 and had to say, I have to do this for myself.
A blasphemer, I'm an abomination. I've heard all of those words come out of the mouths of Christians, right? Who were supposed to preach love, because if we want to get technical about the Bible, I'm not uneducated about that either.
because it's wrong for the church. It's wrong for your mom. It's wrong for your dad. It's wrong for this. It's wrong for that. You always feel like you're wrong. When do you become right? Well, I'm going to tell you. You become right when you accept yourself and you decide what's best for your heart. Once you have that, honey, everything else will fall in place. After so long getting into addiction, getting into homelessness, it made me look at myself. It made me look deeply within my soul and examine why I'm going through this. And the veil was lifted when I put on my first dress. I didn't have to get high anymore. I didn't have to hide anymore. It turned into a budding flower. And at the beginning, it was an ugly flower. And people didn't understand the flower. But I had this one friend who told me that I was a rare flower.
You know, that life doesn't end with this diagnosis. There is so much more life to be had, so many more things to do, because I'm living proof, right? I'm someone who engaged in survival sex work. I'm a recovering addict. I have been incarcerated, and all of that made me who I am today, right? That HIV diagnosis didn't stop me, and neither did all of these other afflictions. And so life goes on, and I refuse to allow my past to have any power over me. So that's why I continue to be the author of my own narrative.
People are always going to hate on you. People are always going to tell you no. But you have to remember why you're here. And you're here to make you happy. Once you love yourself, everything will fall in place.